Hey you guys, what's up? I'm Ashley from heavenathome.org, and this is the Heaven at Home podcast, where my goal is to encourage you in your personal growth journey while being open, honest, and owning my story. We have faith-based conversations and tackle a bunch of different tough topics. Check out the description to follow me and learn more. Remember, you are fully known and deeply loved. Let's do this. Hey you guys, what's up? I hope you're all doing well. Y'all may or may not have noticed, but I recently got a new mic and I'm also in a new place. So I've been trying to adjust the sound for my podcast, and I apologize if every episode turns out different from the last one. I'm really trying to work on it. But also the apartment that I'm in now, it has absolutely no carpet at all whatsoever. So that's just like another thing that just is not helping to absorb the sound at all. So I hope it's not getting to you guys like it's getting to me. But so today I wanted to share just some tips to avoid regret with the decisions that we make in life. I just started a new job, and my first week left me with so much more anxiety than I was anticipating. There's been a lot of changes and transitions in my life. I'm officially divorced. I got a new job. I'm in a new place. I'm choosing a new career path. I'm navigating what's within my realm of control and what's not. I'm deciding what my days will look like and what Ava's schedule and therapies will look like. There's a lot of things that are up in the air, along with just my personal, convictions to grow where it is that I'm planted and where it is that God wants me. And so I came up with a list of some stuff, and I just want to share some of these tips with you guys, because I feel like it would just help with the process in general. But the first tip I have, the number one tip that I have actually, is to listen to the advice of trustworthy voices in your life. I don't think I'm too high on myself or too proud, but I do consider myself to be someone that a lot of people go to when they need advice, when they need guidance, when they need something to be fixed. They come to me, they try to get my opinion, they want my perspective. And I'm also kind of good at reading people and asking the right questions to understand what's happening below the surface, if you will. But I've also had people who have shown up like that in my life, who have given me valuable advice and valuable insight. I've noticed that in some areas where I'm weak, other people are strong. Like me in particular, I tend to be a little bit more caught up in my emotions, a little bit caught up in personal experience. And so when I need help getting out of that, I go to people who are more strategic and practical and like a little bit more sensible. So whether it's looking for people in your life who have something, who have a trait that's like stronger than yours, or if it's just someone whose life you want to emulate in a specific area, I recommend listening to those voices and not taking them for granted. I remember having a conversation with my brother like years ago, maybe a decade. He was probably in high school. And I'm a big sister and I'm very overprotective. And I remember having a conversation with him, or someone having a conversation with him, and he was getting so much good advice. And he mentally just like threw it all away. And he was like, I want to learn these lessons on my own. Like, I understand you're telling me the outcome. You're telling me what's going to happen. You're giving me this insight based on your experience. I want to make my own mistakes. And I think that's the attitude of a lot of people. And I kind of feel like it's just wrong. I feel like it's an absolute waste. And for me, when I think of the long-term life perspective, Like, we could save so much time and so much energy if we're willing to lean in to what other people have to say. I look at different people's lives, and I remember saying specific things, whether it had to do with relationships, marriage, things like that, because I care about the people in my life very closely. And so, of course, I always have something to say. I've learned to limit that a bit. But just seeing the outcomes for other people is just, I don't know. I don't know if that's making sense, but just don't take those voices for granted. And on to tip number 2. So the next tip I have is to do what is right. I think as Christians, we have our own convictions, our own values, our own moral system. But I feel like this is a tip that can apply to everyone, is that you, according to your standards, you, according to what you know is right and wrong, do the right thing. Because usually doing the wrong thing, it usually ends up coming out of selfish reasons or selfish ambitions or any just, self-centered attitude. But when you do what's wrong, I feel like it adds a mental, spiritual, emotional load that you don't want to carry. And I just know what that's like. So if you mentally decide to do in your heart and in your mind what you know is the right thing to do, that'll help you avoid regret in the future. My third tip is to do the things that are true to you and who you are, which basically means just having integrity. For me, I think I shared this in a previous episode, but for me, marriage and family have always been a intrinsic value of mine. And so me now as a single person, as a single mom, maintaining my previous behaviors, my previous convictions, like it just looks different now. And so I'm navigating things that I can do to just maintain that level of integrity when it comes to relationships moving forward, if I ever decide to do that. But that's just a personal example. I don't know if you guys have ever struggled in making a decision because you're, I guess, stuck. There's this thing called cognitive dissonance where you're doing something, but it's so contrary to who you are that you can't stop going back and forth between 2 options or however many options might apply. When you just mentally decide, no, like, this is who I am. These are the kind of decisions I make. This is the kind of life I want to live. Ultimately, I'm going to manage myself to be authentic to who I am. That's another tip that would help you avoid regret or help you avoid making decisions that lead to regret. My 4th tip here is to leave very little room for what ifs. So I haven't shared this with too many people at all. But now that I'm a single mom, I've been kind of taking on the hat of being a provider, which has led me to reconsider my career, reconsider my education, just because I want to be a little bit more sustainable. And so I'm basically about to take a boot camp for software development. And originally, before I was like making the decision to go back to school in any regard, whether it's courses, a boot camp, a degree, what was in my mind a lot was that I was like, I have no experience. I have no idea what this means. I don't know if I'll be good at it. I don't know if I'll suck at it. What if I try and fail? Like, I could just go with what I know. And what I know is people. What I know is computers. What I know is like, I was just like pulling on my personal experiences that have kind of come naturally, I guess. And eventually I just decided, like, my thought moving forward is like, if I don't at least pursue this, if I don't at least try, then I will regret this for the rest of my life, because I'm going to be like, what if I would have just chosen to try, What if I would have just made an attempt? And so I think in general, within an appropriate means, if we maintain an idea like, no, like we're going to consider all the options, we're going to leave them all on the table, and give yourself an option, I think that helps. At least it's helping me to avoid regret. I feel like even if I try and I fail, I'm going to be happy moving forward, because at least I know, like, it's not a what if anymore. It was just like a not possible. My fifth tip to avoid regret with the decisions in your life is to do absolutely everything you can to succeed, to fight and to work and to love and, fill in the blank, all the way up until a situation is no longer within your realm of control. For me at this point in my life, it gives me a lot of peace, knowing that I gave 100% and probably even another extra 10% just because of God and how he showed up. But to know that I was leaning in, to know that I was waiting when he said wait, staying when he said stay, going when he said go. For me, I do kind of consider myself to be a really ambitious person, sometimes to my detriment, honestly, because I tend to get really excited and I burn out very quickly. Just making, for me personally, knowing that I'm doing the best that I can helps me to fight the thoughts in my mind sometimes that say, I don't know, you could have done this, or you could have done that, or, I consider my personal circumstances and my experience, and I'm like, no, for this season and for the demands that I had on my life, I know at this time, at this place, doing this thing, I did everything I could. I gave 100%. And so, at least for me personally, this is a tip that I apply, I'm going to say, pretty often. And it keeps me from being stuck. My next tip is, I guess, a little bit more of, I'm going to say like an everyday one. This tip is, do it now or regret not doing it later. I remember having a conversation actually with my leasing consultant at my apartments, because actually I don't. Oh, okay. So I was kind of going through a moment. It was a very full day. I had a custody meeting and the switch of apartments happening in the same day. And it was like super overwhelming, super stressful. And my mom was in town. So I was like, I'm not going to cry in front of her. I'm just going to do what I have to do, run these errands and get it taken care of. So my leasing agent kind of caught me in a bit of a breakdown. But I ended up having a conversation with him, and he was telling me a bit about his life and his personal story, and how, looking back on his first marriage, like, he regretted not staying, he regretted not fighting, not committing, all this stuff. And I kind of feel like that's a story that I've heard before. But for me personally, in my own life, one of the main reasons I decided to move to an apartment on the first floor is because I wanted to be able to work out while having Ava. Ava would, first of all, she would stomp on the floor. Often we were on the third floor, and I was like, oh my gosh, our neighbor downstairs probably hates our guts, because she was always stomping. It's one of the ways that she stims. But for me, I like to jump rope. And this was a kind of exercise that I started doing around when the COVID pandemic happened. And I'm like, I really want to be able to work out and take care of myself while being a mom, because I'm by myself. I don't have someone to just say, hey, take my daughter. And then the other thing is that even if I went to a gym, for example, and they had a daycare, like my daughter also has autism, and it's high needs autism. Like, not everyone can just take care of her. She has very specific needs, and I need to know that whoever's with her can kind of handle that. So that's one of the reasons that I moved. And I've been maybe like 2 weeks at my current job, and I was like, okay, I know when I want to work out. Like I want to work out for this amount of time on these days, and I wasn't doing that. And granted, I had a lot going on, lots and lots and lots of stuff going on. But I noticed for every day that I was like, I'm not going to do it now, I'll do it later, I spent the whole day regretting my decision to not do it. So if something is able to be done now, if something is able to be done today, instead of putting it off, don't give yourself the option. Just do it. Just do it. And for me, like, just not having to regret it for the whole day is enough to keep me going. So yeah, that's my tip for that. My 7th tip is to learn how to manage yourself and have some discipline. I feel like this is a tip that a lot of people know. A lot of people are probably familiar with it. They probably heard it in one context or another. But a lot of people don't necessarily know what that kind of process entails. When you don't want to do something, when you're doing something that doesn't make you happy, when you're doing something that you feel doesn't serve you in one way or another, are you able to manage yourself and say, no, this is the thing that we're doing and we're going to follow through with it? I think it's a little bit easier for situations where we're accountable to other people. Like, maybe there's a lot of people out there who don't want to go to work, and you think, oh, I don't want to go to work, but I'm going to do it anyway. Why? Because I have to, because I need the money, because I have to show up in this way and do what I have to because these people are counting on me. Like, when there's like exterior factors, sometimes we're able to manage ourselves because of that. But when the only person you have to answer to is God and yourself, are you able to show that level of discipline? Like, for example, if you are super passionate about reading the Bible this year, and you're like, no, this is something that I really want. I really want to know God in this way. I want to know his character. I want to know what the word says. Like all this stuff. Let's say you have that thought. And then every day goes by and you're kind of letting it slide because you can, and because no one is holding you accountable. Are you able to manage yourself? I guess like a little bunny trail or like a little add-on is to have someone you can, who can hold you accountable, and no one likes accountability. We should probably add that in here. That's like a little bonus tip, is to have people in your life who are willing to hold you to what you say and hold you to what you want in a I guess a safe, trustworthy way, without doing more damage or anything. But me personally, I have a really big issue learning to depend on people, so that's me throwing myself under the bus really quick. But yeah, just in general, because at the end of the day, like, even if you do have people holding you accountable, even if you do have people that are willing to speak up because they care, at the end of the day, you're the one making the choice, and if you're an adult, no one can make the choices for you. And so to me, I feel like being the kind of person who is able to manage themselves is really important. My next tip number 8, is to do what God says. Knowing the things that God has told me and the seasons in which he's told me to do certain things. I feel like I'm able to live without regret because I'm like, at the very least, I obeyed, So if God says fight, I fight. If God says stay, I stay. If God says stop, I stop, So even though like I have, even though what God wants isn't always necessarily what I want, it gives me some peace to just know that I'm aligned with Him on certain levels. Yeah, I feel like marriage is the obvious example, but at least for me now, even kind of as an add-on to the previous episode, where I'm talking about, taking God at His word and obeying Him and stuff like that. It's pretty frequent that I realize what it means to stay in North Carolina and to be apart from my family and stuff like that. And in acknowledging my, I guess, like personal desires, like I can kind of avoid the regret that would come with my decision to stay by kind of leveling what God says at a higher priority or as a higher value. I don't know if that makes sense. Which I guess that kind of leads me to my next tip. Tip number 9 is to establish your top priorities. I came across this video yesterday where this woman was talking about, I guess, like defining your values and living your values out with intention and understanding that different seasons, I guess, they level your values differently. And so being able to revisit and say, okay, right now in this season, as I'm performing this role in my life, this is the thing that's most important. This is the thing that outweighs this other thing. And for me, that's been very, very, very hard because I'm the kind of person who thinks like, I can do it all. I can have it all. If I do everything I need to do, then something won't have to be sacrificed. Like I could just do it all 100%. But that's not realistic. That's not sustainable. It's just not. And so if you can relate to that at all, it's just super important to establish your top priorities and to think about like, this is what matters most. If two things matter, this is the thing that matters most. And so in a decision where I have to choose between one or the other, I'm going to give this one a little bit more time. I'm going to give this one a little bit more energy. And for me, that's helped me a lot, is to really take the time to think on that. And then my last tip, which also applies to me, because I don't know if you guys are familiar with the story of the tortoise and the hare, but I feel like I'm the hare. Like I feel like I'm the kind of person to just go like 100 miles an hour, and then I burn out, and then someone who is a little bit more steady just ends up making more progress. Like I feel like I'm just naturally like that. I don't know why. So my final tip is to make sure that you're not being impulsive. I think sometimes, like, to relieve the amount of time that we have to spend thinking and processing and weighing and outweighing and going back to the drawing board, like in an attempt to avoid the mental energy you have to spend thinking about making a decision. We just try to get it over with, and we become impulsive and rash and reckless. And so one practical example I have, like most recently, was in just deciding how I would choose to navigate furthering my education while in my current position. And so I'll just give like the 3 options. One was like a self-paced like certification where I study very specific topics on my own and just kind of builds up my own portfolio. The next option was a boot camp, and the next option was a degree. And me, like, I'm really big on school. I love learning. I love, university style classes and courses. And I had, what did I do? I submitted an application to 2 universities because I wanted to see the kind of program they were going to have me take, how many classes that would have been required. And on the day that classes started, like literally the morning of, actually, I thought a bit more seriously about the cost and the expense and the time. And I was like, this is actually, as it turns out, in addition to pursuing my education, I would say things that are a higher priority are the ability to save time and the ability to save money. And so I made the decision to become a student at a university kind of quickly. And then thank God at the last minute, I was like, maybe not the wisest thing to do. Maybe there's another way that I can do this. And so just making sure that we're taking our time and making sure that we're making decisions that are bringing us peace. I feel like that helps a lot in the long run. And so I hope these tips help you, like with whatever decisions you're making in your life, whether it involves your marriage, your family, your career, your education, your recreational activities, your goals, like whatever it has to do with. I hope that these tips help you and ultimately bring you some level of happiness. I don't think any of us really likes the burden of regret. And so if we are empowered with the tools to avoid that, let's just do that, If you guys have anything to add, please let me know. Please forward me like your advice, your feedback, stuff like that. I would love to hear it. And also, I'm planning on creating a blog post on this particular topic. So specifically, if you have extra tips that you personally thought of and you think they would be helpful to someone else, please, please, please feel free to send them my way. Like, I do not know everything, and I'm sure you guys bring tons of value. So I can add it in a blog post and then add the post in the description. See? So I love you guys. Again, I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for listening. Feel free to DM me to send me your feedback. Check out the description below to follow me on social media. This podcast is listener supported. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember, you are fully known and deeply loved. I'll see you in the next one.